Let's say hi to Ray, who's listening to us in Maryland today. Hi, Ray.
Hey, Eddie. Thanks for making my call, brother.
You got it.
Just wanted to say, love your show. I listen every day on Facts and Talk. I've listened for the last 5+ years on volume as well.
Thank you.
And, of course, that metal show. I don't have to say anything about that.
Thank you.
You are certainly welcome, sir. I wanted to weigh in briefly on your throwdown this week with the Heaven and Hell and Blizzard of Oz. 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have said Blizzard of Oz. Not even thought about it. But when you did the throwdown, I listened to both albums in their entirety. And sonically, vocally, obviously, songwriting, beginning to end, Heaven and Hell is the better album. I will say that after listening to both of them in their entirety this week. It's the better album by far.
It's really tough. I mean, they're both great records. Nobody is going to argue that. I think sonically, I would definitely agree with you that sonically,
and it's thicker. It's so thicker.
Right.
With Iommi's playing and Dio's vocals, and I mean, just Children of the Sea alone, it's just amazing.
The thing about it is, when you talk about sonically and the production aspects of it, Ray, the thing is this, and I brought this up when we were breaking those records down. So Martin Birch produced Heaven and Hell. By 1980, Martin Birch was already a legend when it came to producing. He did the early Deep Purple records, which, in rock and all of that.
And went on, we don't even have to discuss his work with Maiden.
Right. And he went from Heaven and Hell to becoming almost another member of Maiden, starting with the second record, with Killers. So Martin Birch was a super accomplished, respected producer, even at that time, which was relatively early in his career. We've had Max Norman on, who produced Blizzard of Oz.
Oh, I heard it, of course.
He said the story, like he was thrown into that. He was not. Now, again, I think Blizzard of Oz is a cool sounding record, so I'm not dissing what Max did on it at all, but it makes a lot of sense.
They didn't have the funds at the time either, so. But
yeah, I mean, he was kind of thrown into that, and thanks, Ray. I got to move on. I appreciate you listening to. For all the shows and watching. But, I mean, that's a real big distinction there. For those of you that don't know, the first record Max Norman produced, he would go on to have great success in the 80s, producing a lot of metal and hard rock. But the first record he produced was Blizzard of Oz. He was the engineer. He was not supposed to produce the record. The record was supposed to be produced by a guy named Chris Tangarides, who has also done a lot of big records. But it didn't work out. He butted heads with whoever he butted heads with, and they cut him loose. They fired him. And Max was the kid working in the studio, like setting up mics, and they said, hey, Chris is gone. Sit down and record us. And he just ended up evolving into producing the record and really learning on the fly. Now, that being said, the record sonically sounds great, but he was nowhere near the accomplished producer that Martin Birch was at the time he did Heaven and Hell. So I think that's a big part of the equation as well. That's why I think sonically it's a better sounding record. It's thicker. There's more bottom end to it. But not to say that I don't like the sound of Blizzard at all, because I certainly do. But I think there's a lot in that comes into play.